me, the best point guard of all time is Magic Johnson, and right behind him is Isiah Thomas, no matter how much I hate him.
When Michael Jordan got to Chicago, I made it real easy for him to walk those streets on the west side of Chicago.
This is a quote from Michael Jordan. Rod Thorne called me. I said, Rod, I won't play if Isiah Thomas is on the team.
Don't call me behind the scenes apologizing or asking your friends to apologize, right? You got on national television and you called me an asshole, and then you said you hated me.
One of the reasons why Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time is that he held a grudge against everyone he faced. And to this day, he has feuds with multiple players, including his all-time great teammate Scottie Pippen. Back in the day, it seemed that Jordan needed to hate his opponent for a little bit of extra motivation. However, there was one guy who Jordan faced on multiple occasions that he didn't need to find a reason to hate. That guy was Isiah Thomas, who Jordan had one of the most intense feuds in league history with. It is one of the most important rivalries in NBA history, and had huge implications for the careers of both. So let's dive into this beef. Welcome to Sportsphere. Let's get into it. There are plenty of feuds between NBA players. Trash talk is common between the greats of the game, yet players tend to calm down their feuds when they retire. Shaq and Charles Barkley are great friends today, despite having multiple heated fights on the basketball court. Time usually heals all wounds, but in this case, it seems to have just aged the beef. When The Last Dance was released on Netflix, everyone got a little bit of insight into the career of Michael Jordan. While there were plenty of memorable moments, it was particularly interesting how he spoke about fellow Hall of Fame guard Isiah Thomas.
Whatever he says now, you know it wasn't his true actions then. It's time enough to think about it. Or the reaction of the public that's kind of changed his perspective of it. You can show me anything you want. There's no way you can convince me he wasn't an asshole.
While the pair clearly had a rivalry during their playing days, it was pretty shocking to see that Jordan still disliked Thomas to this day. The hatred between these two guys has not mellowed over the last 20 years. So what exactly was it that caused such intense hatred between this iconic pair? Former Indiana point guard Isiah Thomas came into the league in 1981 as the second overall pick. He was coming off the back of leading Indiana to an NCAA championship, winning the tournament's most outstanding player with Coach Bob Knight aiding his development massively. After just 2 seasons in college, Thomas went into the NBA with high expectations, but was able to prove the Pistons right straight away. He became an all-star in his very first season, one of a short list to do so, where he was able to quickly translate his dynamic game to the big leagues. Despite being just 21 when he was first named to the All-Star team, Thomas always seemed to play with the calm and composed nature of a veteran. He was the shining light of the league for a couple of years, but the animosity between the two may have just started as soon as Jordan entered the league. Despite going on to be arguably the best player of all time, Jordan was taken 3rd overall by the Bulls. Thomas couldn't have been happy to watch Jordan start off his NBA career in phenomenal fashion, especially playing for his home team Chicago. Like Isiah, Jordan was voted to the NBA All-Star team in his very first season. Some theories say that their beef started at the 1985 All-Star game, where a rookie Jordan started alongside Isiah as the shooting guard. This would have created some early jealousy in Isiah as he saw his Eastern Conference teammate getting all of the attention. Those early matchups saw some brilliant encounters between the two. As a rookie, Jordan dropped 49 points and 15 rebounds on the Pistons in an overtime victory not long after the All-Star game. In 1987, the pair both had 35-plus point performances, but it was Jordan and the Bulls who once again came out victorious. In those early years, it's pretty easy to see why Isiah Thomas would have been jealous of the Bulls guard. Jordan quickly developed into the best player in the league. The 1987-88 season was his breakout campaign, winning MVP and Defensive Player of the Year while leading the league in scoring for the second year running. At this point, there was no doubt that Jordan was the best player in all of the NBA. The league had watched him bounce back from a broken foot to take the league by storm. Whereas Isiah had seen his numbers stagnate slightly. His 22.9 points per game in his sophomore year ended up being his career high. Thomas watched his scoring numbers go down as Jordan shot up, He was still an all-star level player and was often the guard alongside Jordan on the All-NBA first team. But he was never in the MVP conversation when Jordan was at his peak. But this made sense because of where the Pistons guard IT grew up. Thomas was born and raised in Chicago, yet he had to watch a kid from North Carolina become the most loved man in his home city. MJ was getting the love from Chicago fans that Thomas wanted. So you can see how jealousy played a massive part. The beef here certainly wasn't just one way, however. While Isiah spent most of the 80s wishing that he had the personal success of Jordan, MJ wasn't able to build on this personal success. The Bulls and the Pistons were two of the best teams in the Eastern Conference around this time. The Bad Boy Pistons had a lethal lineup, with Dennis Rodman, Joe DeMars, Adrian Dantley, and Bill Laimbeer, providing the perfect supporting cast for Thomas. They had some brilliant matchups with the Larry Bird-led Celtics in the 80s, finally taking control of the conference towards the end of the decade. 1988 was their first run to the finals, and it included a second-round matchup with the Chicago Bulls and MVP Michael Jordan. While Jordan was the best player on either side of the ball, the Pistons had a very specific plan to deal with him, called the Jordan Rules. The Jordan Rules were designed by Chuck Daly and were designed to essentially beat Michael Jordan up throughout the course of the game. The Pistons' physical defense was particularly obvious anytime Jordan entered the paint. It worked wonders in that 1988 series, with the Bulls winning just one game. A year later, Jordan and his Bulls faced off in the Eastern Conference Finals with the Pistons. The Jordan Rules actually worked in back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals, with Detroit going on to win the title in 1989 and 1990. While it was never Isiah who was doing the majority of the physical play on Jordan, there was still a rivalry brewing. The intense rivalry between the Bad Boy Pistons and the Chicago Bulls occurred simultaneously and fueling the rivalry between Thomas and Jordan. If you know anything about the character of the former Bulls guard, you will know that he doesn't react well to losing. If you beat Jordan 3 years in a row, he's still going to hold a grudge even after the Bulls defeated the Pistons in 1991 on their way to their first title of a three-peat. Phil Jackson was able to design a system that helped to spread the scoring load to some of Jordan's teammates. It also helped that the Bulls guard bulked up after those losses to the Pistons, as it meant he was able to handle the physical play that he faced a lot easier. It was in that run to their first title that Jordan found more of a disdain for the Pistons, and Thomas specifically. Having finally lost to the Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals, Detroit did not take the loss gracefully. Instead, they decided to walk off the court without shaking hands or congratulating Chicago. Despite the physical play between the two sides, there seemed to always be respect, which was something Jordan valued. The Pistons walking off like this is exactly the sort of thing which can cause MJ to hold a grudge. Throughout his career, Isiah Thomas often represented his country whenever he had the chance. Even towards the back end of his career, many people still believed that Thomas had all of the facilities to be a big part of the USA team heading into the 1992 Olympics. But I'm sure, as you know, he was one of the shock emissions from the USA team that went on to be known as the Dream Team. He was passed over for Magic Johnson despite Magic retiring from the NBA the prior year. At the time, there were plenty of rumors about why Isiah Thomas had been left off of the team. The main one, of course, was down to the feud between Jordan and Thomas. Despite there being a long list of Hall of Famers on this team, like Magic, Larry Bird, Karl Malone, and David Robinson, everyone knew that Jordan was the shot caller. Rumors circulated that Jordan told selection committee member Rod Thorne that he would not play at the Olympics if Isiah was selected. The pair were sworn enemies from their days as Eastern Conference rivals, and it's pretty clear that Jordan was the kind of guy to hold a grudge. Jordan certainly had a lot of influence on this team, not only because Thorne was the GM who drafted him to Chicago in 1984. He was the best player on the team, and so backroom staff would do whatever they could to keep him happy, as well as maintaining the mood in the locker room. So Isiah didn't go to the Olympics, with the committee instead going for John Stockton and Magic Johnson as the two-point guards selected. Isiah missed out on the chance to become an Olympic champion, with many fans still believing that he deserved a place on that team. Since then, we do know a little bit more about exactly what went down. In The Last Dance, the Olympic team was covered in detail. Jordan was pretty open and honest about it, saying that he didn't know whether the chemistry and camaraderie that the team had would have been the same if Isiah was selected. Jordan did also once again deny that he told anyone that he wouldn't play if Isiah was picked. But that's certainly not the sort of thing that Jordan would want to come out, so you could understand if he was to lie about it. Whether it was the right decision or not is hard to tell. The Dream Team still goes on to win the gold medal, even if the locker room is a little disjointed with Isiah Thomas in it. But this moment helped form a hatred between the two guys that doesn't seem to have settled today. What's pretty crazy is that despite all of the matchups between these two guys, they still seem to hate each other today. Isiah Thomas certainly did not come off well in The Last Dance, and Jordan is still more than happy to share his disdain for his fellow Hall of Fame guard. IT seems to be a little bit less interested in maintaining the rivalry, recently saying that he didn't know anything about the beef between the two guys until The Last Dance. He also shared his hope that the two can have an honest conversation and talk things out. When you boil it down, this rivalry is not actually as complicated as everyone makes it out to be. For a long time, Isiah wanted what Jordan had, and then Jordan wanted what Isiah had. The pair battled in hard-fought and physical playoff series for years on end. The rivalry was only ignited further by Thomas freezing Jordan out of the 1985 All-Star Game. When you have two ultra-competitive, ultra-focused guys playing on rival teams, beef is almost inevitable. Yet the fact that these two still hate each other to this day shows just how competitive both were. Considering they still haven't made up yet, it would be shocking if Michael Jordan and Isiah Thomas ever became friends in the future. But still, this beef epitomizes the highest level of competition in a time where players played harder and had more hot-headed attitudes on and off the court. What do you think about the rivalry between Michael Jordan and Isiah Thomas? Put your thoughts in the comments down below, and while you're down there, hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you for watching SportsSphere, and we will see you next time.